Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 462.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you're here today because here's the thing. When it comes down to getting started, how many excuses are you willing to make? I mean, that's literally what it seems like sometimes. You go to a networking group and you've got a lot of individuals who can tell you why they haven't gotten a deal yet or why they haven't quite made it yet and what they're still missing to make it happen. Well, let me ask you this. If you had a negative net worth, let's just say it was somewhere in the negative $80,000 range, would you use that as a reason to not get started? Some would say, yeah, absolutely. You need to take care of that first before you invest. Well, today's guest says absolutely no way. Not only did he get started with a negative net worth, he's now been doing it for 15 years. He has participated in over 5,000 real estate transactions. He's built a company that runs without him on a day-to-day basis. And here's the best part of that. He's willing to tell you and I how he did it. And that's exactly what you are looking for all the time. Individuals who are willing to share what they have actually done, not individuals who are willing to share what they think can be done, but those who have actually gone out there and done it. I'm speaking, of course, of none other than Brad Chandler. He's the co-founder of Express Homebuyers, a real estate investing empire that does so many deals a year you would be amazed. But again, it's not about the number of transactions for him. We're going to dig in and find out how many we can get you guys out there going. So do me a favor. Make sure that you're paying attention. Make sure that, yeah, I know you might be walking the dog and washing the dishes, but right now, this is that time where you're going to hit that bookmark button or you're going to take those notes or you're going to just make mental notes of what it is you need to do so that you can duplicate and begin to build your cash flow too. So help me welcome Brad Chandler. Brad, you there?
I am here and so excited to share what I've learned over the last, 15, 20 years.
Yes, we're going to drain it all out of you in the short time that we have today. All of it right there.
All right.
So this being your first time that you're here, I have to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here. You ready?
All right.
All right.
Fire away.
I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. Batman, Wonder Woman, etc. Superman, right. Even. And because I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. For example, as an entrepreneur, I can occasionally envision myself using my products and services as the way to save people. And occasionally I can think that I'm actually wearing a cape. Now, also like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. What I mean by this is if you think about, say, Spider-Man, there was a time where he was just a college kid. Going to school, doing his thing, taking some photos, nothing else. And then one day something miraculous happens to him and he discovers, I have a special ability and I now have to choose whether I'm going to use this for good or evil. So my question to you is as follows. Before, Express Homebuyers, before your book, How to Wholesale Real Estate for Profits Without Bank Loans, before the hundreds of deals per year and the thousands that you've participated in, before all of the things that people know you for today, what we want to know is, who is Brad Chandler?
Awesome. So I'm going to go back to 10 years old when my folks got divorced, and
okay.
my dad didn't really support myself and my two sisters and my mom, so things got really tight. And there was a time where my mom said, we might have to move from this house and move into public housing. And as a 10-year-old, that scared the you-know-what out of me. So I thought to myself, I don't like this feeling at all. So when I was in ninth grade, I read a book in How to Buy Real Estate with No Money Down. And for the next 15 years, I pretty much made real estate the foundation of my education. Because after reading that book, I thought to myself, number one, this is a way that I'm going to have a bunch of houses and never be homeless or never have to move into public housing. And number two, there's no cap on the amount of income that I can make. So fast forward to late 2002, I was one of the 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. I had a negative $80,000 net worth, and an investor bought my neighbor's house in Vienna, Virginia. I went and talked to him, and he said, yeah, I buy houses below market. I fix them up, and I resell them. So I said, wow, I've got 2 degrees in real estate. I was never taught you could do that. I always thought you got rich in real estate by putting a bunch, 20% down, going to a bank, getting a loan, putting a tenant in the house, having it pay off after, 30 years, and hopefully the place it appreciated, and then you'd sell it and make some money or hold on to it and, cash flow it. Well, I was wrong because you can fix and flip and you can wholesale property. So that was December of 2002, and I took 8 long months to get my first deal. And man, was it a struggle, Jay. Working a full-time job, coming home at night, putting my son to bed at 8, working from 8 to midnight. And in July and August, I bought 6 houses. I quit my full-time job in October of 2003. And here we are, 15 years later, and we flipped and fixed over 25 or close to 2,500 houses. And then I participated in another 25 to 3,000 real estate transactions on the realty side.
Now, this is great. I just want to be clear, though. Did you say 9th grade you read a book about No Money Down real estate?
I sure did, and I knew at that time what I wanted to do.
I wasn't thinking about real estate in the 9th grade, but okay. That's cool. That's cool. I like it. I just want to make sure I got that right. Now, what I really like, and I want to make sure that everybody picked up on, you had a way that you thought real estate was done. Yes? That's what you said.
Yes.
But what you thought was true actually wasn't true. And that was actually the pillar thing that had to be dismantled and reassembled for you to be who you are today.
Yes. I thought you needed a ton of money to start in real estate, and you don't.
So why do you think that thought process is so prevalent?
I think people automatically think real estate. They think a lot of money, and they think banks have to be involved, because it's a very capital intensive business.
Well, that's true. That's very, very true. And then there was something else that you mentioned. You said it was 8 months to get your first deal. Have you found that others might not stick it out so long to get that first one?
Absolutely. And that's why, people ask me what my key to success is. If they say, what is the one thing that's more important than anything? Mm-hmm. And Jay, it's the perseverance that I had. So each week that went by and I put more money into it that I really didn't have. And each week or every time I went to a real estate investor meeting, they didn't actually have meetups back then. I saw other people doing deals. And it was almost like this internal burning, like almost anger inside me. It was like, if they can do it, I can do it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And so I persevered. And so many people get into it and try it. And they're like, this doesn't work. This is too hard. Look at Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. He went to 121 publishers before he got someone to say, I'll publish that book. Think if he had quit at 7 or 80 or 119. And look at what he's done. Look at the empire that he's built and all the, probably millions of lives he's affected around the world because he didn't give up and he persevered.
So this begs the biggest question, though, is oftentimes when we are in a mental mindset of, well, I know how it works, and we're convinced at that moment that that's how it works. And then being confronted with having to develop patience in the face of desire, like, I want this thing, but you have to keep pushing and plodding through. What was the secret that kept you moving forward?
I think it's just a mindset, Jay. I spent many, many years of my life from a young child just absolutely enamored by why is it that some people grow up in good houses and aren't successful, and other people come from the worst surroundings and they're successful. And it wasn't until I built my coaching program in the last year and a half that I figured it out. And it's a 100% mindset. So you and I can give the listeners the best training program in the world, bar none. But if they've got a fixed mindset, and not a growth mindset, one that, hey, I can't figure this out, they'll never succeed. So it's just having the proper mindset. And here's the best thing about mindset, Jay. You don't need to go to Harvard to get a good mindset. You can literally wake up one day and say, I'm going to change my mindset.
Yes, I love it. The change does not have to take forever at all. So tell us about that first transaction, because a lot of people would love to know, how did it finally happen for Brad?
Well, so my first transaction was really, really boring. It was a VA, a Veterans Administration foreclosure. I don't even remember how I financed it. My second deal was a lot more interesting, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
I talked with a lady who had been taking her husband's check from Schwann's. He drove around one of those trucks and not paying the mortgage. So I'd made her an offer in March of 2003, not knowing what I was doing, over offered her. And then 6 months later, I kept in touch with her, and her realtor actually called me and said, my client is 6 days away from foreclosure. They are literally going to throw her and her 5 children out on the street. Can you please help? I know you're a foreclosure expert. Well, I don't know where she got that from because I never said that, but I'm like, oh, I can help. Jay, I didn't know what I was doing. I called a mentor of mine, the same guy that bought the house next to me, and I go, John, you got to help me, man. I got an opportunity to buy this deal. And he starts sprouting out all this, blah, blah, do this, this, do this. And I'm like, oh my God, what did he just say? But anyway, I put it together. I went to my mom, who's a nurse, who's never made more than really 65, 70 grand in her life. And I borrowed $20,000. I gave the lady $5,000. I took over her mortgage payment. I trashed out the house. I listed it. Actually, I didn't list it. I listened to another mentor that said, put an ad in the paper and droves of people will sign up if you just put handyman special. Well, how many people showed up? One lady. And thank God she bought the house, and I made $42,000 on it.
That's so funny because yours sounds very similar to mine. Like literally, I did very similar stuff subject to taking up. It was awesome. Anyway, I appreciate the fact that you went out there and made it happen, but there's something else now you just illustrated that I think that people need to know. You said you didn't know what you were doing, but you didn't let that stop you.
And why? That's the growth. That's the growth mindset. That is the I can figure it out, and not I'm dumb and I can't figure it out. I just knew that I looked at other people and I said, if they can do it, I can do it. So I listened to him. And then I hung up and took a couple deep breaths, and I go, okay, I heard what he said, because I didn't even have the money to purchase the house. I had to take it subject to. So that's right. That's what I did. I just muddled through and I figured it out.
Yeah, well, what's interesting to me is that you trust yourself to figure it out. You may not know the answer today, but you know you can get and find and execute the answer along the way. And that's not normal for a lot of individuals. Where do you think that comes from for you?
You know what? It may not be normal, Jay, but I really believe that 99% of Americans have that ability. You know, I got to look to my mom and say she gave me a lot of confidence as a young child, just a lot of love and support and saying, hey, you're great. You can do whatever you want. But again, look at the people who don't have that in their life and they still do it. So it's just a matter of, what do you want in your life? Do you want to be average or do you want to be great? Because guess what? You only get one life. A lot of people I see in bad relationships and bad jobs year after year after year. And I'm thinking to myself, do they think that they're going to get to come back and do this over again? They're not. So I wanted to live a very fulfilling life. And, you know, knock on wood, I'm a really happy guy in an amazing marriage. And on my second marriage, an amazing marriage with an awesome family. And I love what I do every day.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's interesting to me is the fact that you've gone on now to develop this business to a point to where you're not needed on a day-to-day basis. I can remember when I wanted to do wholesaling, the most we ever did in a year was like 90 transactions. And then it was around that time where I said, I don't want to do this because there was so much day-to-day stuff that I just didn't want to do. And that's when we switched mostly to buy and hold and other strategies, etc. So that means you figured something out that I didn't. You figured out how to extricate yourself from being involved in the day-to-day. One, I want to know why you found that was necessary. And two, how'd you do it?
So I found it. I wanted it to happen because I didn't want to be. I wanted the freedom and flexibility to be able to travel, which I do a lot. Spend a lot of time with my kids. My son's 15, and he's a really top-notch golfer. So we travel around the country and play. He plays in a lot of tournaments. So I was like, this is what I want. From the day I started my business back in 2003, Jay, I read the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and I'm like, I want my business to work for me instead of me work for my business. So that's why I did it, and how I did it is I don't want to oversimplify it, Jay, but it's really just about people and systems, with people being the more important. You've got to spend the time and the energy to go out and find really top-notch people, because the people are really your only long-term true competitive advantage in any business.
Yeah, I did 100%. I was once told and trained that the concept was, the phrase was very simple. If you build the people will build the business. And that's where the focus has always been, for sure. Now, in the business of wholesaling, in fact, let's take a step back. For those who may not know what that is, why don't you tell us what exactly, or how do you define wholesaling? And then we'll just start there and go and keep going.
Okay. So I go visit with John, who is a distressed seller who needs to move to Florida quickly because his mother's in bad health, and he just wants to be done. His house is really banged up, needs a lot of work. I go to John and I say, John, I look at the numbers, and it looks like John's house would sell for $250,000 fixed up. And let's say it needs $50,000 in repairs. So I do the numbers and I go, you know what, John, I'll offer you $100,000. John probably owes nothing, or maybe owes $50,000. It really doesn't matter. As long as he doesn't owe more than my offer price, we're in good shape. So I offer him $100,000, and he says, that's great. I sign a contract with him, and then I pump it out to my buyers list. And Bob happens to call me, and Bob says, and by the way, I'm offering it at $120,000. So Bob looks at the numbers and says, I can buy for $120,000. I can put in $50,000 to rehab, and I can sell it for $250,000. That sounds pretty good. Brad, I want to buy that deal. Great. I have Bob sign a very simple assignment of contract, which means I'm assigning the rights to buy John's house to Bob. Now Bob can buy the house. So 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, whatever it is, Bob shows up to closing, to the settlement company, with a check or a wire for $120,000. Well, John gets the $100,000 that I promised him, right? Well, the other $20,000, the difference between the $100,000 that I offered John and the $120,000 that Bob is buying it for, that's called an assignment fee. It's almost like a finder's fee. I like to simplify it by saying the word finder's fee, but it's really an assignment fee. That $20,000 goes into my pocket right then and there. I never bought the house. I never renovated. I never got a bank loan.
Yup. And that is exactly why I like that strategy. So, but I have a couple of questions for those who may not have had the opportunity to participate in this type of a transaction before. How on earth do you come to the confidence to be able to offer the original seller anything when you may not know if you can find that buyer? Hey guys, thanks for listening as always, and I'm glad that you continue to support with each and every download and subscription and share. One of the things that I want to ask you though is, where are you listening to me from right now? I know some of you, maybe you're on a treadmill, maybe you're washing dishes, maybe you're walking that dog, and some of you are actually in a vehicle driving right now. One of the fun things that you can do to get some of your time back is begin to living a car-free existence. But even then, it can be a little complicated. So one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to go over to Zipcar. Go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary. It's a way that I am able to still go get a car just for a few hours, very, very simply, so that if I have a lot of errands to run and sheets to drop off and running to the short-term rentals, or if I just want to go for a long trip up to LA and back, etc., I can rent a car for a very, very short period of time. And the cool part is I don't even have to pay for any gas. Again, go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary.
So the easiest part of the business, Jay, is selling a deal. I've been saying this for 15 years. If you have a deal, I hear new investors and they're like, well, that's a common question. Well, what if I get under contract and I can't find a buyer? My answer is, you will always find a buyer, because if it truly is a deal, everyone is looking for a true deal.
Yep. But which then begs the question, because I know I can hear them right now in their car. They're saying, "But what's a true deal, Brad?"
A true deal is, so we typically buy, I don't want to get too complicated here, but here's the formula that we use almost every time. We look at a house and we say, what is the after repair value of the house? And let's use easy numbers. Let's say it's $100,000. I'm going to offer 70% of the after repair value minus what it costs to renovate the house to get it to that after repair value. So let's say, and this hardly ever happens, that the house only needs $10,000 worth of work.
Right.
I'm going to take 70% of 100,000, which is 70,000, and I'm going to subtract off the 10,000 in renovations, which is going to give me a price of $60,000. That's going to be my offer price to John. Now, I know that around the country and in our markets, that people are willing to buy at 80% of after repair value minus expenses. So in this example, Bob is fine. Take 80% of 100 and you get $80,000. Subtract off the 10,000 in renovations, and that gives you $70,000. So Bob, I know all day long that Bob and Sally and Jim and Henry will buy that property for $70,000. So I just made $10,000.
Yep. 100%. Now, here's the thing. In this business that you are currently describing, there are so many moving parts. There's obviously and skill sets combined. What I believe everybody love to know now is, how on earth did you manage to scale it? Like, how did you find the people with all of the requisite skill sets to actually execute this? How did you find someone that you trust to actually make the correct buying decisions and the correct selling decisions and, well, the paperwork? Ooh, that's never fun. All of those things are possible, or parts of your business that you've had to remove yourself from. How did you make that happen?
So this is a really great question, Jay, but it's a really long answer. So I'm not going to be able to go through all the detail that I want, but this is one of the things that we spend a lot of time in my Entrepreneur to CEO program, teaching investors how to hire people. Because when I look at businesses and all businesses, but a lot in the real estate, everyone in the real estate space, their number one problem is people. So how do we find good people? We go through a bunch of different sources, but lately we've been going through LinkedIn. And we take an exhaustive interview process. We do behavioral testing, and we match people's skills with the actual skills that are required to be successful in the various roles that we're hiring for. And we do not hire quickly. We take a long, long time to hire. And then if we have made a mistake, which we do on occasion, we are quick to fire that person, because it's not good for them, and it's not good for us to keep them in a position that they're not thriving in.
Well, you just said something that I think is vitally important for all the entrepreneurs listening, is slow to hire, quick to fire is basically what you're saying in developing that process. How did what I would be interested to hear is developing the patience to be slow to hire, because usually by the time you've gotten yourself into a position where you go, oh, I need to hire somebody, it's already too late. You should have hired someone a while ago. And now you have to be patient enough to go find the best and correct person in order to make that happen.
Yeah. So we've developed over the last couple of years a bench of talent. So we may not hire someone immediately, but we have someone waiting. I think it's just one of those things that you have to understand as an entrepreneur, that if you're going to get ahead and you're going to get the freedom that I have, you have got to focus on people. And so what happens is they get caught in the whirlwind of the day to day, and they either do the job and work 80 hours because they don't want to take the time to hire someone, or they quickly put the wrong person. They just are like, okay, this person, I got some red flags and some bad feelings, but gosh, I need that person, so I'm going to hire them. And then it backfires. Years ago, I heard that a poor hiring decision usually would cost 10 times a person's salary. And when I heard this, I'm like, that's just jargon. That's them trying to make a point. Well, let me tell you, Jay, it is so true. If you're hiring a $50,000 person and it's the wrong person, it can literally cost you $500,000.
Yeah, I'd like to say I didn't know that personally, but yeah, I agree. That's for sure. That's for sure. So when it comes down to understanding your business as you do today, what would you say, because you're obviously not, you may be one of the largest wholesalers in the nation, but you're not the only wholesaler in the nation. What is it that you say has made you guys unique or different that has allowed you to be known by so many and to be able to, be successful at so many transactions?
So a lot of it's the people, but we beat that to death. So we'll put that on hold. It was definitely the people that I brought on. My passion has always been from day one around marketing and sales, with marketing being probably more of a passion than sales.
Ooh. Okay, hold on one second. Everybody, this is about to get good. So get ready. Go ahead, Brad.
So I absolutely love marketing. I love crafting messages. I started TV advertising when I didn't have, any money. We started TV advertising in late 2003. We've got a jingle that, if you walk down the street in DC and you said, "Hey, can you sing the Express Homebuyers jingle?" I bet you 6 or 7 out of 10 people would be able to sing our jingle. So we've really focused time and effort on marketing, and by bringing in the people, Jay, it's allowed me to focus on marketing, because what happens is, and you've been in this business, when you were doing it, and I don't know your structure, but you were the 100 other investors out there, 1,000 other, they are the acquisition person, the disposition person, the marketing person, the CEO, the admin. So they're doing everything. So they just get the marketing up just enough to make the business work. Well, I had so much free time because of the systems and the people that I put in place that I really focused on marketing and really honed it in. So our website right now is one of the most highly ranked websites in the United States in the investor space. We generate well over 1,000 leads outside of our current markets across the United States because our website is so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you said something that I was actually going to ask you about, because you mentioned TV, but then you said website. So I was like, you're advertising on TV. I get that. But you're not using online methods. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what? So when it comes down to it, I've witnessed this shift, if you will, or these changing, buyer habits, to where I think every business has to have a significant, you can't just kind of be online. There was a time, I just have a website. You're good. But now you got to have more than that. What have you found to be the best ways for an entrepreneur to market themselves in an online fashion that has produced the best returns?
Well, for investors, hands down, there's a company that builds websites out of the box. Like, you can literally just turn it on, and if you follow their training, you will get ranked. I mean, I've seen countless the people who actually do the work and follow the system get it ranked. And I will put that website in the show notes at bradchandler.com/cashflow diary. So that's the number one thing I would do. This company didn't exist when I started, so we built our website ourselves. But yes, I tell everyone, Jay, if you're going to be in this business, you got to have a website, because what reputable business on the planet doesn't have a website? You got to get a website. And why is it one of the greatest times in the world to start and build a company? Because of technology costs. They're so cheap. So you can get a kick-ass website for $50 a month.
Right. I mean, the barrier to entry is free. That's how I like to call it at this point. Now, when it comes down to it, though, just because you have the website, that doesn't mean people are going to get there. What's been your super secret traffic strategy to make that happen for people?
So really, it's been a combination of search engine optimization, which the company that I'll put in the show notes will teach you exactly how to do. And that's just coming up in the free listings. When someone types, "I need to sell my house fast, Orange County," you're going to pop up. The second thing is pay-per-click advertising. So you pay Google to serve up your ads in the first 4 spots on the top of the page, where someone types "sell my house fast," to Alabama, Tuscaloosa, whatever, that you'll come up in one of those top 4 results. Those are really the 2 main online strategies that we've used to just crush it online.
Perfect. And I love it, because that's very similar to what we've done. So it's yes, it works on that side of the coast. The point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that you got to do it. It's no longer, because I don't know if you had this, Brad, but I've heard many times from people, "Well, Jay, I don't want to do marketing and sales. I want to just do real estate." I'm like, Yeah, that's what we're talking about. How do you expect to do real estate if you don't do marketing and sales at this particular moment in time? So you've taken all of your experience, you've done all of these things, and now you're out there sharing the information so that others can duplicate and have that same type of success as well. Where did that desire begin, and how did you stumble into it?
That desire began when I was a young child, honestly. I love helping. I love teaching people. I was a kid, teaching other kids in the neighborhood how to throw the football or to ride their bike. So I've always had a passion around teaching. I love it. I love it. I love it. And, last year it came to the point where it's just like, you know what? I'm not needed in the business. I don't have to be here 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a huge potential because unfortunately, we professionalize a very mom and pop industry in the home buying space. And it's kind of the same with real estate training. There's a lot of crap out there, man. And there's a lot of people that claim to be someone that they're not. And I've just got fed up with seeing these people spend, tens of thousands of dollars on training and get nowhere. So I'm like, I'm going to do it differently, just like I did it differently in the home buying space. And so I've created Brad Chandler Coaching, and now I'm coaching people how to scale their real estate business, or how to start. Really, I have a training program to start and how to scale real estate businesses.
That's awesome. Now, when it comes down to it, what have you found it to be like? If I pressed you and said, you know what, Brad, what do you think are the top 5 reasons that individuals are actually experiencing success in the real estate market based upon your experience and the people that you've worked with? What would you say?
It's number one, marketing. It's absolutely knowing how to find the motivated sellers. Number 2, it's probably having sales training skills, which I teach in depth on how to convert a lead to an appointment, and then an appointment to an actually signed contract. And then it's people and systems. So I gave you 4, but those are really the big 4.
Agreed. No, agreed 100%. When it comes down to it for you, though, what would you say is what's the next step? Like, what do you see when you look out into the future and go, okay, we've conquered here? Because this is my problem. I conquered here, and I'm like, now what's next? Because how do we keep that going while I do this new thing? What's on the horizon for you guys?
So I want to, from the first day that I started Express Home Buyers, I always had the dream to be a national company. So we're trying hard to put the pieces together, and it's not easy to go outside your market.
Right.
But we're putting the steps in plans in place to start scaling nationally. And then on the coaching side, I just want to continue to help more and more people. I want to get those people who are, in their job, they don't like it, they know there's something better. I want to get those people, and I want to say, you can do it. You can do it because I did it, and countless other thousands of people have done it. So believe in yourself and take that first step, and have a call with me or my staff, and let's get you started on the path to freedom.
Indeed. 100%. Now, there's a number of people who have listened this far, and in their head, they're like, okay, Brad, I get it. I gotta start. They get everything that you and I have been talking about. They want to have, in fact, some of those experiences and pick up that $20,000 check 3 weeks later after they've, started a transaction and whatnot. They want to have that happen for themselves, or maybe they just want to find out more about what you guys have going on. What's going to be the best way for them to track you down?
So if you go to bradchandler.com/cashflow diary, I'm going to give some amazing free stuff on there. I'm going to give you a report that literally walks you through step by step how I made $33,750 wholesaling a townhouse in Chantilly earlier this year. I'm also going to give you, for so cheap, the opportunity to purchase a direct mail call system. So if you have some of the knowledge about sales and you know something about real estate, but you're like, I just don't know how to find the motivated sellers, I'll give you that. So definitely just go to bradchandler.com/cashflow diary, and you're going to be blown away on the page by what you're going to see and what you can get.
Got it. Now, as we wind down here, I've got another question for you because I'm kind of interested to hear what your answer is going to be. There's probably a listener or two who's been tracking along with us this entire time. And as things go, that we often can get excited about what we're hearing, and we get to these points of decisions. And you know what? I like to say that they're standing in front of the superhero outfit store. They are now ready. They're like, you know what? I am going to do this thing. And often when we meet these points of decision, we're also met with a companion, and that companion often comes in the form of a voice. And that voice says things like, oh my God, are you really going to try that again? I mean, who are you to actually think you're going to, no one's going to buy real estate from you. And for some people, they're actually related to that voice. So my question to you, Brad, is as follows. Let's pretend that this time they're actually going to follow through. They're going to get it done. They're serious. They're going to make it happen. And they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you suggest that they do?
So if they have a spouse or friend or family that's doubting them, is that your question specifically?
Or even themselves in some cases, but they're stuck for some reason. And now they're like, you know what? That's it. I need to take measurable action. What's that measurable action?
So Jay, I created that free report solely for that reason. So people could, it's over an hour-long video that's so detailed that once they watch that, and I tell people all the time when I'm doing strategy sessions with potential coaching students, and they say, well, I don't know if my wife or my husband will go for this. I go, make them sit down with you and watch this video, because it literally step by step shows you, hey, this can really happen. So I think after they watch that video, again, it's a free report on how I made $33,750 without ever buying the house. If they don't get it after that, then it's going to be a tough road, because it's like, wow, this is how you do it. This is how I can do that, because you don't need to get an advanced degree. There's just a couple of parts. You need to know how to find the sellers, which I teach you. You know how to talk to them, which I teach you. You need to estimate renovations, which is not as nearly as hard as people think. And then you really just need to know how to value a house, which again, with technology and what I teach, is not that hard. So you've got 4 or 5 pieces that you need to learn that aren't that hard. And then you just need to go out there and bust your butt and make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. I like it 100%. I definitely appreciate everything that you are bringing to the table, how you are changing not only your local marketplace, but soon your national marketplace, that you're going out there, reaching out and reaching to make sure that others can follow along, and that you're being the example, that you're being able to hang out with your kid on the golf course, all of the things that everybody hopes to achieve. We are glad that you have achieved that and are absolutely crushing it. Thank you for taking the time, though, to share your knowledge, your wisdom, as well as your insight here with us today at the Cashflow Diary. You are very welcome, and that was awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means go make it happen. I mean, you heard it yourselves. Go out there, find the video, download it, sit down with your significant other. Even, you know what? Sit with a friend too, because you're going to need some moral support through this entire process. At the end of the day, it comes down to what you do with what you know, and we are going to make sure that you know what you need to do. You've got to do that last part. We can work together and make this happen for each and every one of you, and that's what we get excited about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.